Naoya Zenin is a narcissistic, misogynistic, overconfident piece of unlikable filth. But he's just so cool, though, dude. Naoya Zenin is introduced to us just around the conclusion of the Shibuya incident. Chapter 138 shows us the Zen'in clan gathering their major members to discuss the matter of the new clan head. Makes sense, because Naobito is now bit burnt. As they gather, we see the man of the hour, Naoya Zenin, special grade 1 sorcerer. He shows up, starts antagonizing the other leading members of the family, with him making fun of them to their faces. But with their responses, it becomes clear that out of these special grade 1 sorcerers, he's kind of a step above them. Naobito dies to his injuries, and his will is read aloud to the gathered members. Upon hearing that in Naobito's will, he chose to appoint Megumi as the next clan head. Now he decides to fix his Megumi problem, as he declares to deal with Megumi out loud in front of Maki's mother. From this introduction alone, we can gather a lot about Naoya. We can gather that he is extremely skilled as a sorcerer, given the ease in which he toys with the other special grade 1 sorcerers. We can tell his ego is enormous. Just look at what he says, calling his siblings losers, saying Ogi never amounted to much, just like his daughters, and just calling Jinichi ugly, while also speed blitzing him. However, in regards to what Naoya says in this intro, and in his later appearances in the manga, there's a bit of an elephant in the room, so to speak. You see, as I said during that little animated intro, Naoya is hella misogynistic, right? To like a funnily goofy degree, okay? In the first 3 pages we ever see of him, he asks if Mai is dead, says Maki is unacceptable and doesn't know how to support a man, and that any woman who can't walk 3 steps behind a man should be stabbed in the back and die. Not only that, he finishes this sentiment by saying that Mai is better than Maki because she has just as big tits as Maki, but also she knows her place as a woman. Wow. Like, I mean, I hate women just as much as the next guy, but holy fuck. And not only that, okay, he's describing his cousins. They're from the same clan, which is, you know, makes it even weirder. And on top of that, they are also only 16 whilst he's 27. Like, Jesus, dude. The stuff he says, it makes it so difficult to like his character. Oh, but don't worry though, he will say some even worse things about Mai later on, but we'll get to that later. So basically, Naoya's plan is to find Megumi, get him to relinquish his new position in the clan, which he doesn't really care about, and to be honest, doesn't even know about yet at this point, then kill him. And since Naoya is getting rid of Megumi anyway, he may as well get rid of Schooner's vessel at the same time. I mean, why not? Man of a word as he is, he arrives in front of Choso and Yuji in the next chapter, chapter 139. In this chapter, we get Naoya being a nice guy. He says, look, Yuji, I don't really care about this execution stuff, so if you just let me, you know, break your legs, we're square. Sounds like a fair deal to me.
Damn good deal.
But Yuji starts asking questions about Fushigoro, so Naoya just kind of starts beating him up, and Choso at the same time, and quite handily at that. Like, he is no diffing these characters who were main players in the previous arc. Yuji, someone capable of doing damage to Mahito, and Choso, someone who not only beat Yuji, but managed to damage Uraume. Like, these characters are no joke. In comes Naoya, clapping them both in CQC, then saying he can go even faster than that. Then Yuta shows up and puts the fear of God into all people in the vicinity. The fight breaks down into Yuta vs Yuji and Naoya vs Choso. Gojo's students battle as these two debate their opinions on what it means to have brothers. Now, he believes that all of his siblings should die. He hates his brothers. They're weaker than him, inferior. This obviously clashes with Choso's entire character, which is basically the perfect encapsulation and heightening of the protective older brother trope. But that is a topic for another day. Choso, very obviously as the oldest of 10 siblings, sees Naoya's dismissal of all of his brothers as a bit annoying. So in this encounter, Choso comes out on top in this battle. However, this win doesn't last very long, as Yuta appears immediately after and one-taps Choso in the chin, really highlighting his Shibuya durability. Like, he could barely take 3 hits from Yuji, and he took a single hit from Yuta. This dude's durability is kind of whack. I love him, but he's a damn glass cannon. But before Choso hit the concrete, he didn't finish off our main man, so he lives to lose another day. Despite this loss, however, to Choso in chapter 142, it clearly hasn't stopped Naoya's ego at all, despite him not accomplishing any of the objectives he set out to do with Megumi. Then, our next sighting of our main man is in chapter 148. We are now in the perfect preparation arc. Maki appears, trying to get her hands on as many curse tools as possible from the Zen'in's curse tool warehouse. But before she goes to the the warehouse and all hell breaks loose. She stops in and says hi to Naoya, and oh my god, he is an absolute douchebag. First of all, he roasts her ass more than Jogo did, saying that with those scars, she'll never find a man now, and that her face was the only thing she had going for her, and now it's gone. And finishing off this wholesome interaction with a nice flashback panel where we see Naoya straight up bullying a child Maki. Like, even when Maki was a child, he was still beating her ass. In the black shirt and blue jeans too, god damn. But he do kinda got that shit on though. With the Converse sneakers on too. Ooh, damn! After this, Maki ventures into the warehouse, only to be met by her father beating the absolute hell out of Mai. Turns out Junichi and Ogi have been plotting against Megami becoming the new head of the clan for a while now, just as Naoya had tried before. They're going to execute Megami and Maki, and have their reason for doing so being that they are plotting to release Satoru Gojo, which is now being deemed a crime, as Gojo is now viewed as a criminal that is somewhat responsible for the Shibuya incident. Naoya finds this very funny. And Ogi, Maki's father, was the person who proposed killing his own daughter in the first place, which was nice of him, you know. But with him doing this, he unknowingly set into motion the downfall of not himself, but the entire Zen'in clan, including our main man Naoya. Except Megami, of course, like he doesn't really count. He has his own downfall to deal with right now. Nothing really happens with Naoya for a chapter or two, and we don't really get much, but if you're watching the vid, chances are you know what happens in this chapter. Mai dies, Maki gets buffed, kills her dad, and starts to rack up one hell of a KD ratio, which is quite funny, since by the end of Naoya's lifespan, his KD is literally in the negatives. Maki destroys her entire clan for her younger sibling. How original, Gege. Up until there's only one dude left. The guy that's in the thumbnail! Chapter 151 hits. Naoya and Maki have a pretty cool fight here, and this fight, as well as all the internal dialogue we get from Naoya, paints a very captivating picture of Naoya, from a narrative perspective at least. Before the fight even begins, we get quite the flashback from Naoya. We get his childhood thoughts, his preconceptions made about Toji, made from only things he'd heard from the other clan members around him. Assuming a man without cursed energy would be weak, a failure in the Zen'in clan. However, upon simply seeing Toji, Naoya immediately understands his strength and seemingly grows afraid of him, whilst Toji merely looks straight ahead, not noticing the child prodigy's presence. This mirrors Toji's interaction with a similarly aged Gojo, Toji's eyes meeting the Six Eyes user as his presence was noticed, whilst Toji merely looks straight ahead when in front of Naoya, uncaring about the potential of this future clan head. This interaction with Toji changes a young Naoya's opinion on what it means to be strong. It's more than simply how much cursed energy you have or techniques you use. Naoya here, ironically, showed more of an open mind towards Toji than anyone else in the clan, growing to have a solid respect for the sorcerer killer, despite everyone else in the clan hating his guts because of his strength, despite his lack of cursed energy, which is exactly what Naoya respected him for. Everyone in the clan feared his overwhelming strength. Understandably so. However, despite how intriguing this notion of Naoya being open-minded is, it didn't clearly last into his adulthood, as he has pretty close-minded opinions about women, as we clearly found out earlier. However, his idolization of Toji in turn leads to his respect of Gojo, as he was the person capable of defeating him. As he grew older, he saw himself as being the only other person capable of reaching that level of strength. This then leads into seeing an awakened Maki, and now you're going through a sort of denial. You are not Toji. You don't understand what true strength is. The one who is left standing is the winner, and I will be the one left standing. He sees Maki as a faker. She is a weakling who is nothing compared to the great men he has adoration for, and he will prove it by beating this fake Toji. The pride as a prodigy fostered and raised by the Zen'in clan is then crushed by someone that the Zen'in clan constantly broke down and abused. He was defeated by someone he deemed to be a failure, almost dying at Maki's hand, but she didn't kill him. No. Chapter 152. His life is taken not by Maki, however, it's taken by Maki's mother, who had just had her throat slit by her own daughter. She decides to plunge a knife into Naoya's back, calling back to his line about how women should act, as well as foreshadowing his future demise from his overconfidence. Obviously, there is a rather large gap between this appearance of Naoya in chapter 152 and his next one, as he does literally kind of die here. But as we all know, if a sorcerer is killed without cursed energy, they can potentially come back as a cursed spirit. And that's exactly what happened. 2 losses in a row against Choso and Maki made Naoya hold a bit of a grudge. So, in chapter 191, we get a nice little reunion between Naoya and Maki. However, Naoya is looking a bit more wormy here than he did before. It isn't immediately apparently that it's Naoya straight away, since initially it just looks like a worm, really, with arms and a mild trypophobia fetish, but besides that it looks like every other curse. But with each new page it becomes more and more clear what this worm's true nature is. It immediately locks onto Maki, and it pursues her with blind-signing speed, which is the first major clue, but as it gets closer and now he decides to morph his worm body into a crude recreation of his human visage, it becomes obvious that our boy is back from the dead. His hatred for losing and women kept his soul alive. Maki sees this new, despicable me, Redestro looking face and just looks madly confused about it, to be honest. Like, she doesn't even look that bothered in this panel, which is kind of goofy looking to me. Basically, I'm just going to give you the cliff notes for this fight, as it does get pretty long and it spans like over 8-9 chapters, starting on like 191 and ending around chapter 198 to 199, and there's a little bit of controversies and debate surrounding 2 things that happen in this fight, so I'm going to brush through it a bit. And said controversies, one being a power scaling issue and the other being a much more uncomfortable one regarding what Naoya says to Maki, but we'll cross those bridges when we come to them. So, Naoya goes super fast as a worm, but in this form he is just a cursed womb, so he needs to go through a transformation and become this badass looking skull with a jetpack and tentacles. Pretty epic. And on top of that, since he can still use his cursed technique in this form, he can reach Mark 3. And that's pretty flippin' fast, my friend. But here's the first controversy. The Mark III speed feat itself is the first controversy worth mentioning in this fight. It's less so a controversy and more so a highly debated topic, as Mark III, whilst being really fast, isn't like, it doesn't scale well to things we'd seen up to this point. Like, not by a long shot, because in the fight between Maki and Mai, we see Maki catch a bullet from close range from a revolver. Like, she reacts to it and catches it. Now, people calc the speed you would need to react and subsequently catch a bullet, and when you compare it to the Mach 3 feat, it doesn't really make much sense, so it caused a lot of discord among the power scaling community. As before this Mach 3 statement, everyone's speed was calculated around Maki's ability to catch a bullet, and then scaling that to Yuji's speed since he's scalable to hair earlier in the series. The statement just caused a lot of confusion, as it's quite a deviation when it comes to JJK speed calculations. If you want more, just look at power scaling videos. Like, they say the power scaling channel, dog, just like, I don't fucking, just ask some of these guys. But just after he reaches Mach 3, Maki is hit straight in the face and he's on top of her. His tentacles are kind of doing their thing, and he goes on a little rant about when people are kids. They can't do specific things, but when they're adults, it becomes second nature to them, to the point where they can't imagine a life where they couldn't do those things. I'm not being vague either when I say this, these are pretty much his lines. He's just being weirdly aloof. Then Maki replies with, "Ha, when were you ever an adult?" To which Naoya replies, "Who knows? Why don't we ask Mai?" The implication, of course, being that Naoya may have slept with Mai, right? Which, first of all, ew, with how old he is, how young she is, ew. Second, ew, they're cousins. Third, ew, since Mai always disliked her clan and its ideals so much that she asked her sister to destroy it, I doubt she would have been willing to lay down with the absolute embodiment and personification of the Zenin's values. So yeah, not very nice. Whilst this statement could potentially just be Naoya trying to fuck with Maki, as he knows that Mai is dead, at the same time, you can choose whether or not to interpret it as he did stuff with her or he's just messing with Maki. Either he's being a dick or he's just done unspeakable acts, and ooh. Either way, it's not very nice. Yeah, it's not great. Skipping that. The fight continues and Kamo tries to have a literal Rengoku moment. Somehow he doesn't die, even though I think we all can agree he kind of should have, like, let's be honest. He somehow hits cursed Naoya with piercing blood, despite the fact that a human Naoya was dodging Chozo's piercing blood, but whatever. Mio and Daido appear out of nowhere. Daido slashes Naoya to everyone's confusion. Maki then goes into the hyperbolic sumo chamber to get some training with Mio, gets mega buffed from it to the point where the narrator says she's basically Toji reincarnated. They all jump him and they start washing Naoya. Naoya gets angry. Naoya becomes more human so that he can do his hand signs, so he can do a domain expansion. Now, his domain expansion is not only busted, it's also really cool looking. Like, look at this big eyeball and the big gore walkway he makes. It's pretty cool looking. But the whole gimmick of Naoya's domain is that it's just a heightened extreme of his projection sorcery curse technique. Instead of just having to imagine your body moving in a 20 frames a second motion, you get hit with film reel and then you have to move each cell of your body at 24 frames. And if you don't do that, you get bodied. So basically anyone besides Naoya gets washed in this domain, right? However, that's not 100% true. You see, 99.999% of sorcerers who would get trapped in this domain would be completely screwed. However, if you're that 0.001% that doesn't have cursed energy, you're fine. Or basically, so in layman's terms, the domain recognizes anything without cursed energy to be a literal object. And since Maki doesn't have any, she is considered by the domain to be an object, which allows her to sneak in from behind and not be afflicted by the curse technique. So she does this and she stabs our boy Naoya in the back, calling back to his original death. But think about this really quick. The reason Naoya lost was because he objectified Maki so hard that she wasn't even visible to him. Like, this is some next level misogyny. He hates females so much, he can't even perceive them. Little side note, fair to say that if Naoya moved inside his domain with the use of his curse technique, he probably would have went so goddamn fast, but unfortunately we never got a chance to show that off, so that's a shame. In conclusion, Naoya is a perfect example of the pampered genius trope, right? Someone who shows immense innate talent at a young age with seemingly limitless potential, and as a result has an inflated ego that leads to their eventual downfall. He is a character that is purposefully written in a way for you to hate him, and make it satisfying when you see him lose, as he is written in such a way that he not only challenges Maki's principles, but also her existence as a sorcerer and as a woman that's stronger than him. But Gege accidentally, when making Naoya, made his abilities super cool, as well as making his intriguing internal dynamic regarding Gojo and Toji very interesting. How since he sees himself above most people, he believes he is the only person capable of understanding the strongest sorcerer of the modern age and the unstoppable sorcerer killer. And that internal dialogue of his is very interesting. Whilst he is fun to hate and it's a great read to watch his downfall, I can't lie. A combination of all these things put together, as well as his cool design, made him one of my favourite characters in JJK. But he's definitely not my favourite character. Like, we all know this. We all know my favourite guy is Kusakabe. Like, obviously. Come on now.